biggest things I realized from there is people buy people. People don't buy services. Interestingly, I would put it like this. I've done more roles than jobs.
For today's episode on Success Documented, we have Mr. Manish Porwal. With over 30 years of experience in Bollywood, talent management, and marketing, Mr. Manish has previously served as the CEO of Percept Talent Management, amongst other roles. Currently, Mr. Manish serves as the Managing Director of Alchemist Marketing Solutions and has won awards such as Marketer of the Year award. How are you today?
Very good. How are you doing, Shivan?
All good, all good. I love the office. It's a great vibe. So you told me about your podcast. You're on the other side now. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be interviewed rather than being the interviewer. But yes, yes, I've been on both sides.
So tell us a bit
couple of
about
times.
tell us a bit about that venture you had with the podcast. Why did you start it, and what was that like?
Oh well, so Alchemist was doing well and reasonably well, growing at a great speed when suddenly COVID happened, and a lot of our clients were suddenly saying, "Hey, hold on," and we don't have enough work. And we thought that rather than just making up people wait, we'll rather than helping our clients, in their marketing endeavors, which were on a kind of a standstill, we said let's market ourselves, and therefore we created this program called Clay Dialogues. In fact, it ran for 2 seasons in the 2 episodes or large episodes of COVID time when the offices were shut. So we went to all of our clients, a lot of clients beyond our clients, and started talking to them about their work, their home life, etc. These are all top icons of the real estate industry, and that's why it's called Clay Dialogues. And we had great dialogues with them, understanding not just how they work, but also how they live their lives and their family life and their legacy, and how do they handle the second generation or the first, if at all they were second, and so on and so forth. And the program became an overnight success. So Clay Dialogues had about 16, 18 episodes overall.
Wow.
Between the 2 seasons, and we interviewed the wealthiest and the most successful real estate players of the country.
That's amazing. That's really interesting.
And interestingly, Shivan, by the way, in those days, it was not called podcast. It was just interviews. It was just dialogues that we had. So we did something which was path-breaking even in those days. Yeah.
That's amazing. Who was your favorite guest?
Well, my first guest happens to be my favorite, even though the content came from other people, which was better. But my first guest was, Pankaj Bansal, who also happens to be a client who I love for his gutsy ability to take marketing calls that he does, and we made him sing on the show. What else could you ask for? A real estate tycoon singing.
That's amazing. So, going into your childhood a bit, I picked this quote up from your LinkedIn. You said, "Have gained immensely from being bred in a middle-class small-town family." Could you tell us more about this specific quote and generally your childhood, how you think it shaped you?
Yeah, well, I owe a lot of whatever success that we can talk about. I'm assuming that there's some reasonable success, that's why you're here. But whatever reasonable success is, a lot of it is attributed to the fact that I'm born and bred in a middle class, if I may say, somewhere between struggling and comfortable kind of a family. I couldn't have got everything on a silver spoon, and that was the good part. That's what probably made us assertive, aggressive, even a hustler that I would like to call myself at a certain level. Quickly to tell you, I was born to parents who were both working. In those days, that was not very common. So my father was an LIC person through and through, one job for all his 30 years. My mother was a teacher and an artist. Somewhere her passion and her job merged, but they were also two different things altogether. So I came from a working class family with an elder sister who currently doesn't work but has done it before. So our family was this typical middle class family, which is comfortable on basics, no problem with that. Great on education, great stress there. But if it has to be something which is beyond, it was all aspirational. So beyond school, beyond food, and beyond comfort of a house, anything that we wanted, including a remote control car as a child, was something that one had to wait for, right? Or even a cricket bat, one had to wait for a few months before it gets onto you. So that helped me quite a bit in terms of, if I may say, being hungry, understanding the value for money or value of money per se, wanting things. We were reasonably exposed because my family's from both sides. One side, which was my parents' side, was very well educated. A lot of doctors in the family, CAs, etc. So there was a pressure on the academic side from my father's side, and my mother's side was all abroad, staying in various countries, which we wanted to visit because we always would see these mamas and mamis and masis coming and, exposing us to the very, very different world, which we were not sitting out there in a small city called Jaipur. So that's where it helped, coming from a middle class, hungry background, if I may call it. Nothing could be taken for granted. Uh, that helped. And I definitely don't envy a lot of the Gen Z today who have a basic thing given on the platter. They have an AC, they have a car. At least those are taken care of. In our times, that was not a given. So I think being born in a middle class family was a boon. And thanks to that, we today appreciate what we have. Till today, most of what I am today is very much those middle class values, nothing more, nothing less. And that helps me keep in touch with the ground. That helped me being insightful, if I may call myself. It keeps your ears and eyes open. It keeps your senses absolutely in tune with what's happening in the world. So yeah, that's what I would put it as.
So this is a very what if question. What do you think your life would have been like if you were in a high income family, like top 1%, let's say? Well, how would it have been different?
It's conjecture, so I can dream a lot. So maybe it would have been that I wouldn't have to start from the 100 that my family gave me and therefore take it to 1,000. Maybe I would have started from 1,000 and took it to lakhs. In sheer relative terms. But I think somewhere across I would have probably not been as hungry, as much of a hustler, as much of a insight guy as I am today, probably. Yes, I would have enjoyed maybe a more comfortable early life. Wouldn't have been traveling the second class trains that I've done in most early parts of my career. But then I wouldn't have enjoyed that first ever, business class ride, or I wouldn't have enjoyed that first ever five-star hotel tea, which I thoroughly remember, or my first car, which I bought with a little bit of loan, but a lot of guts, in those days, because that I bought from my own money and my own credibility of, even if I got a loan out there. So yes, I don't know what it would have been, but I definitely feel better with what I had.
That's great. That's very interesting, seeing how it shaped your corporate career.
Yeah.
I mean, for the viewers, do you want to tell us a bit about how you've pivoted throughout your career, start to finish? You've worked in media management, you worked with Bollywood stars, you worked in marketing now, sorry. So how has that been, start to finish?
So Shivan, interestingly, I would put it like this. I've done more roles than jobs. Most people have to change a job to change a role, and within that also they change a job and they don't change a role, right? They just keep doing the same thing. I've been lucky enough to do very many different things in the last 30 years. And every time I've done that, there has been some bit of risk involved. And thank God I took those risks. So I started my career after my MBA. I'm not talking about the little jobs here and there that I did before that, but after my MBA, I started as a media planner, which I didn't want to be. But my bosses thought I was best at that. So they gave me that job and I did it. Fortunately for me, I did very well out there. So I was a media planner. I was not even a buyer, but I did a little bit of buying out there. But I was not a conventional media planner even then. So Excel was not my biggest strength. It was okay, but that's not what I was good at. Media planners typically plan the advertising budget, right? And then they spend that budget. So they're not exactly the advertising ponytail guy you think of. So I was not that. So I started like that, but within a few years, I did gain currency. I did reasonably well for my years. And then I did something completely different. So I went on the other side. I started selling and marketing a channel. And that channel was not another channel of my comfort zone. I went from Mumbai actually to Delhi to within my media planning days, and then from Delhi to Chennai. And I headed the sales and marketing of a Tamil channel when I didn't know T of Tamil. And that was a different thing altogether. So I was selling when I was used to buying, if you get it right. So it was a mirror image of what I was doing. Most people don't do it.
How is selling in a language that you didn't know? Isn't that?
So I was not exactly selling in that language. The selling language remains to be English, but I was selling a channel which served to an audience which consumed in Tamil, right? So yes, it was not easy. Let's not make it oversimplistic. It was difficult, but then there were enough eyes and ears that we had who helped us do that. My next in command was a guy who's an absolute hardcore Tamilian, Sriram, who later became the CEO of the same channel. So yes, he was a great pioneer. So then you basically just like if your root is not very strong, you create subsidiary roots, right? So that's what I did. So that was the second part of my career, which was selling, and then I came back to what was called new business, but within the media planning agency. And before that, I worked with the BBC, again selling. So I had a job as a media planner, which sometimes transacted into being a media buyer. I went on to selling and marketing a channel. The same I did with BBC back in Bombay. And then I went back to media planning, but media planning more in the new business role. So I did a lot of new initiatives. I started a sports company or helped start a new sports company for my company, an entertainment company, a digital company, and so on and so forth. So that was completely different. And then I went to Percept Talent Management, where I did nothing of what I'd done previously. I managed celebrities for 2 years till Lehman happened, and I decided to start our own company. And that's when we did what was called HR, or recruitment and training and development, which was nothing that I'd done before. And then with it, the same company pivoted into being a marketing specialist. And then we became, from what we called that time anything but creative, to a lot of creative services, strategy services, execution services, all of that, which we continue to do today. And then it has celebrity part, it has events part, it has IP creation, it has strategy, marketing strategy for clients, and of course, execution through creative and on ground. So maybe 6 different kinds of things I've done in my last 30 years, and sometimes within the same company.
Yeah, that's amazing. How do you pivot these roles? What's your secret to that? Because you master one thing and you're like, I want to leave this one thing that I've mastered to move on something that I don't know anything about. And then you end up mastering that as well. How do you go about that?
I think a little bit of it is in the DNA, comes from Marwari DNA. Even though none of my family is, or none of my close family at least, was in business, so-called, as we call business. They were always employed, or they were doctors and engineers and CAs, etc. Most of them. But I think somewhere the recessive DNA became dominant. And maybe that's what happened, one part. But jokes apart, or I think the part of me which constantly looks for new challenge came up with these. I got lucky as well. A lot of my colleagues who started something very different did not get lucky. But I think I built on basic things like human insights. Human insights, if you master, they are common. So what helped me in media planning, and therefore knowing how to reach my consumers, also helped me in selling to my clients. What helped me in selling to my clients also helped me selling ideas to clients who would then buy celebrities, or even to celebrities who will then buy brand associations. Right? So that was the next phase. And that led us on to understand that I understand people well, or I love people, or interacting with them. And that helped us get into the HR zone. So it is not that they were completely uncommon threads. So for example, we did not go into manufacturing. I've not done that. But within the same domain of understanding people, marketing, insights, that helped me pivot many times into newer zones. And that in a way helps you engaged. Be engaged all the time. You're not like, oh, I know this and I can do it in my sleep. If you could do something in your sleep, then you're not doing enough. You know, that's the point, because your active mind is not working, that means. So that's what we keep doing. Within Alchemist, we have now generated at least 4 or 5 new revenue streams, which we never started with. In the last, every 2 years, we kind of add something onto ourselves. And that gives us the inorganic growth that we have been witnessing in the last few years. So yes, it's interesting, to say the least. And yes, it's a little bit of daring. And yeah, God has helped us. So yeah, that's what here we are.
That's amazing. And you said everything that connects all the fields you've been in, media, marketing, talent management, recruitment, HR, etc. All of them is human nature based. So what are your one or two things that you've learned about human nature?
There are many, many things that you learn over a period in time, but what I can instantly recall is one simple fact. For example, I've noticed that clients of one nature moved on with us for the other industry that we got onto. And one of the biggest things I realized from there is people buy people. People don't buy services. Okay. So if they feel that I have an integrity towards them and what I'm selling or what I'm asking them to do for me or with me, they will be all right buying more things from me, even if I'm a novice there. They may have more questions, no doubt. They may have lesser money for me. They may want to extract the last pound of fish, which is all right, right? As long as they're willing to experiment with me. So the same guy who's buying or telling me, hey, can you get me on my next marketing head? Tells me, hey, can you help me in my marketing by providing me advertising services? Because I believe that what you bring to the table is integrity towards whatever you commit yourself to. Then it helps. So this is one learning that I have, that people buy people. People don't buy a particular service from them. They're open to buying more from them as long as they understand that the person is intentful towards providing. It has happened several times, not as a percentage time, but in terms of numbers, when we intended giving something and we were not able to achieve that. But as long as you're truthful to that, your clients know that you're truthful, you tried your best, they understand. Most mature clients understand that there can be failures as well. They do failures as well. So they're allowing you failures as long as they know that their intent is there. So the good intent, if I may say, was common. Human insights were common. Understanding how humans work, understanding how humans consume information. So one of them is people by people.
That's interesting. My mom told me the same thing. So she used to do sales in Coke, and she was like, people didn't like the product I was selling, they liked me.
Yeah.
And they bought because they
Yeah.
liked me. And I think establishing that rapport with potential clients and ongoing clients, and one thing that I read in a book by Alex Hormozy is also, if you have a client, send them a mail once a week. Be like, how are you doing? Is the service going good? Do you need anything other than the service? And that can, in the long term, bring you the same client back and bring you the same client back for different services, as you were saying. So
Yeah, I'll just qualify it with one thing. There should not be. See, clients are smart. People are smart. Let's put it like that. People are not morons. People are not idiots. They understand. So as long as that mail is intentful, that mail means what you mean to say, or at least 80% of it, and truth well told, of course, from there, works. As long as you mean. So when you say, hey, can I do something more for you? You must mean it. Then it's all right. Staying in touch is relationship building, which is sure, it'll help you. It'll help you get a recall. It'll help you get a first call if required. But staying in business requires a little more than that. Getting business requires that, yes. But staying in business, building on it, having relationships which are business relationships which last, which continue in a periodic way, need intent and action.
So you've told us about your corporate career, and for the past 14 years, you've served as the managing director of Alchemist Marketing Talent Solutions. I'm not sure about the exact name.
Don't worry, you can call it the Alchemist Group.
The Alchemist Group. Tell us about your time with the Alchemist Group and how it's developed while you've been heading it.
Several dimensions to this question. Let me start with one. In my previous Apex roles in Stockholm and later in Percept, where I was a CEO, and in Stockholm I was the managing director, India, West and South, I generally felt and thought and believed that I was an entrepreneur any which way, right? Even though I was working for somebody else, whether it be a company or a board or a entrepreneur. I thought that I was almost an entrepreneur. Till the time I started Alchemist and I realized what actually being an entrepreneur is. There is a difference. At best, I was an intrapreneur there. Because the only thing that I pledged from my side was my time, but I still got a salary. Of course, I got a lot of extras when I did well, but still there was a salary as a backup, which basically means that you still go back home, you still are worried about your business class ticket rather than that revenue only. When you become an entrepreneur, and that's exactly what Alchemist did to me, then you're on your own. Then there's no backup, there's no net, there's no safety. It's all out there. Either you make it or you don't. Right? It's a binary function. It's not a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So one of the dimensions of the last 14 years has been entrepreneurship. Having a gut, exercising it, putting your money where your mouth is, putting your time where your mouth is, which was always the case any which way earlier, but also your money. Finding the cheapest ticket when we started. We were a bootstrap company. We did not borrow from anywhere. The only investment that I made in my own company, in spite of having earned well before that, was just about 6,000 rupees. That's all, which for a printer. And everything else was a revenue expenditure. And it depended on how much revenue we got in every month. Over the last 15 years, a little more than 14 actually, we have had a very interesting run. Let me just tell you some tenets of that run. One, 15 years month-on-month profitability, month-on-month. Zero debt. First few years of zero bad debt. Nobody did not pay, which basically meant a very strong control, great profitability, not just revenue focus, but also profitability focus. Because we didn't have any backup, so-called. Even when whatever little money I had accumulated before I started this, along with the other partners that I did, who are equally responsible and equally taking the fruit, we said we're not going to invest our own money, right? So we invested time, and we said we'll create money out of that time. And that's exactly what we did. So the only thing we invested was the opportunity cost of us, because we were all highly placed in the corporate world when we left it, right? I was one of the highest paid CEOs in the entertainment industry when I left. And that is something that gave us a huge responsibility, not only towards us, but also towards the early people who joined only because of our name or what they felt about us. I cannot thank them enough for having come over and spent early parts or mid parts of their career with us just because of what we had done in the past with them or what they had heard of. So that's one part of what Alchemist is all about. So till today, Alchemist thanks deeply, has a great, huge gratitude for its people. While we've grown hugely, we are about 200 people now. When we started, we were what, 7-8 people. But the loyalty part of people is hugely taken care of by us, we believe. People have stayed with us out of these 14, 15 years. A lot of people have actually spent more than 10 years now here in the company, even though we've grown every year far more. So while you're adding new people, you're also taking care of your old people. And that's one of the tenets of our success, if I may say, that people have learned within and they've stayed within. So we have apparently the least turnover, least people attrition in the country, even though we have had a growth of more than 30-40% every year, for a while now. So that's another tenet about Alchemist. And so is the fact that we've been nimble. We have changed our routes of how we make money quite often. We started with saying we will not do creatives, anything but creatives. We'll do strategy, we'll do on-ground activation, we'll do celebrity interfaces. And then we realized that people in India may not understand strategy without creative in our field, I mean. So we started doing creative as well. And then we became a primarily creative-based agency. So 60% of our work, not all our work is still creative, but 60% of our work is art and copy now. But 40% is beyond that. We kept pivoting, kept changing, kept adding. We added a production and a content division to ourselves. We added digital, we added social media. As the need arose, we kept adding in that field. So Alchemist is known to be nimble for ourselves and for our clients. Sometimes the client said, oh, you're providing me A, B, C service. I know you don't do D, but can you do it for me today? And we said we can try. Why not?
Okay, so a couple things that stood out to me is number one, risk taking. You know, a lot of people want to be as risk averse as possible, but you left a high paying role to join a new company, which you weren't sure was going to work out. Lots of people did that with you. You know, what's your strategy to, I would say, cope with risk?
So, Shivan, let me qualify this lest I lead people the wrong way. I'm actually, from the core of it, I'm not a big risk taker. I take calculated risks. When I say calculated risks that as much as I can bear. So, for example, when we started Alchemist, we did not start with a lot of money. We started with all we had in terms of intent. Right? Money I kept aside. I gave it to my father and said, don't give it to me, whatever happens, right? I also put myself in a 2-year kind of a situation, said, I'm young enough. If for 2 years it doesn't work out, what the heck? I'll go back and ask somebody, please mujhe rakh lo. That kind of stuff. So, and it didn't work out, so we didn't have to go back. So I'm not exactly a risk taker of the highest order, and I won't recommend people to do that, especially who come from modest backgrounds. So risk takers are best if you have a huge, deep pocket, then take a risk, of course, or you have nothing. If you have nothing, you can take all the risks that
Nothing
you
to
can,
lose.
right? No problem with that. Nothing
Yeah.
to lose.
Yeah.
Those who come from a middle end, I know that it's not easy. So they have to constantly hedge. Each time when I took a risk, I also had a family to feed, dinner to lay on the table, or at least enough money to so that the dinner is laid, because I don't cook. That's a different thing altogether. But at least that's required, right? So risk is only as good as your mental makeup is. So that nobody can define for anybody, right? Only over a period in time our risk appetite is improved. But no, I've not taken enough risk. So for example, I never entertained client who said we'll give you double the money, but we'll pay 3 months later. Did not ever entertain. Could not. Let's put it like that. Could not. I didn't have the wherewithal to do it. Right? So I've not done that. I've not worked in areas where I was not comfortable with. So interestingly, we don't have too many government clients because I don't know how to navigate that part. I cannot take a risk there. So the risk has been more in the areas of comfort. So if you get my point, not exactly risk prone, but calculated risks, yes, of course, those are required. More importantly, I think it is about putting your efforts. I have now for 30 years, and I say it proudly, I worked on an average at least 10 hours a day. Even when I'm not working, I'm working in my mind. And I like it. It's not a boja, it's not a burden. It's good fun most times. Of course, there are days when you just feel that you want to, get into a burrow and not look up, right? But most days are not like that. Most days are when you're excited about what you'll do today. Oh, you know what? This is coming up, and that's the challenge coming up, and so very interesting things I've done. By the way, one of the things I didn't cover with you is the fact that from a simple pure play, strategy at creative company, I've ventured individually into direction, and I've been, lucky enough to have directed some of the biggest names in the industry: Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, Karan Johar, Sunil Shetty, Ritesh Genelia, and it was all accidental. It was not like planned.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, we were doing these commercials with them. I was just an ad agency. And we said, okay, we need to save money and we need to do a good job of it. And I was the writer of some of those things. So I said, allow me to direct. And they allowed in some way or the other. And it just became, and those commercials did well for the clients. I don't know whether they went commercially, as in creatively or no, but they worked on the business side. So both clients were okay. Celebrities got comfortable with my direction, and here I am suddenly directing the big names. So many of those risks were, yes, of course, taken, but they were taken the back of a lot of mehnat, a lot of understanding. We were not doing it like a wager, if you get my point.
The second thing I wanted to touch upon is how if you have employees that have been working with you for more than 10 years, you have to take care of your employees. And a lot of businesses, I feel, put that on a back burner. High churn rates, etc. How do you take care of your people?
I wish there was a method to the madness that I would talk about, which was earlier devised. But I think if I retrofit it, it's been a simple concern, a simple the want to live up to a promise. When we started, a lot of people joined for a promise that was not even made on paper, just a promise, right? That we will do something well, and when do we do something well, it'll be shared. I think the intent of it, and I keep going back to intent, the intent of keeping your promise, when you do well, somebody has pledged their careers, their youth, their initial learning years to you. You may not be able to give them the best in that 1 year, that second year, but if they've stayed with you for 5 years, 10 years, and if you have the spoils, might as well share them. That's one part. The second part is basic human psychology. They are the same people who are doing this because they can't take that big risk that you have. They don't have the aptitude. If they had, they would have done it themselves, right? Now, now give them that recognition that they couldn't do that, so they're doing something else, right? Which is coming closest to it. They're hedging, right? They are happy to risk their careers. They're happy to risk their money to come to you because they believe in you. If they believe in you, you give it back to them, right? So yes, people have stayed very long with us. Now that we're growing, yes, we're not able to maintain the same low attrition rate that we used to have once upon a time. It's falling down. But that then is dependent on my next in commands. Then they have to take that mantle and understand that there are no overnight heroes and there are no overnight zeros. I think it also came from my first company that I joined, which was FCB Ulka. That was the culture there, that there are no overnight heroes. There are no overnight zeros out there. People can commit mistakes, and yet they need to be backed up for their mistakes, as long as they're not blunders and they're not repeated. Right? So, Shivan, it's something that you learn over a period of time. People are your biggest assets, not money, not resources other than them. It's people, especially in my kind of business. If they are with you, you have everything. You can build from scratch every time over. Every time that you suffer, you can build it back because you have the knowledge, the know-how, the intent all there in the company through people. This company actually hires people who are right at the beginning, creates a program for training for them, where we actually do 2 months of training, pay them for that. It may not be too much, but we pay them for that and then put them in the jobs. It's called fast track. So as we speak, my EA and head of corporate strategy right now is interviewing some people in some college right now, trying to figure out who are the people with the best intent. And we'll give them all the skill. So we don't hire for skill, we hire for intent, we hire for aptitude, we hire for attitude, and then develop on that. A lot of people then slip away. They do. A lot of companies say, hey, if they're anyway going to slip away, why should I not hire the pakka pakaya mal? We believe that pakka pakaya mal comes with its own costs, its own learnings and unlearnings. We'll much rather get people from the beginning, develop them our way, have them with us. Some of them will go away. In the nature of time, they will go away. But most of them will stay and grow with you. Or some of them will stay and grow with you. And they become your heroes. So this is our thinking, our philosophy. I don't want to put it to anybody else. Sometimes it doesn't make financial sense also. But I believe that a lot of my ability to do other things is because somebody else is taking care of the cash cows or the basics because they've grown with us. So most of our division heads actually have spent more than definitely 5 years with us. Some of them even 10 years. They are now running the business.
That's an interesting philosophy to have. Yeah. So now going into the actual marketing side of Alchemist, right? I wanted to touch upon digital marketing, which is in the media right now. Everyone wants to start their own marketing agency and all that. But digital marketing was not what it is today when Alchemist started. I think we had Facebook, YouTube, and that was it. And YouTube was in its early stages. Facebook was relatively new as well. And now we have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of these things. So how has Alchemist changed in terms of digital marketing?
So yes, I must tell you that that in a very strange way, we were doing a catch-up when it came to digital. Because when we started, it was all a strategy and a base execution agency. In fact, our digital part is only less than 10 years old, not 14 or 15 as Alchemist is. But in the last 10 years, we've done a lot of not just catch-up, but a lot of new things. We have constantly focused towards a strategy of digital rather than just execution, and that has helped us quite a bit, right? So there is a part which is doing the catch-up, but what we are also doing is a part where one of the directors is only focusing, one of the three of us is only focusing on what will be the future, and creating products for that now, right? So let's say 70-80% of our think tank is working towards now, here, tomorrow. And the 30-20% is working towards what will be the day after. So coming back on digital, a lot of catch up to do. Every day is a catch up. Every day, by the time you've covered this, the industry moves ahead, right? And digital doesn't just mean social. A lot of it is performance driven, specifically in the real estate area where we do very well in marketing, right? It's all about performance. It's all about lead generation. It's all about here and now, etc. The second thing that has happened with digital front is that there is nothing called analogous left. So it's not like a division between analogous and digital. Everything is digital or moving towards digital. Digital is like an environment. It's like an OS, which you don't see. Everything is digital. Tell me one thing where everything is completely analogous in media terms or in nothing left,
Yeah.
right? You're today recording me on a digital camera, and you'll transfer it digitally. You'll play it digitally. It is on a digital platform. What is the analog left? Nothing. So digital is the new OS of how we work, how we talk to each other, how we converse, how we spread information, and everything else. So that's a given. Within that, yes, we have front runners. So we have a division called Dotwise, which looks specifically into digital platforms, right? That's what we do. And then we're creating many more new platforms within ourselves so that we are able to not do catch up, but we are the forefront runners when it comes to day after. So a lot of people talk AI, a lot of people talk about programmatic in various fronts. We are far in front in those areas as we go along.
That's really interesting. And extending the digital side of things to, artificial intelligence that's been growing now. Artificial intelligence, from what I've worked with it on, is really good at, understanding how somehow humans work. I think it gets, good patterns in terms of, you have 10 posts, you tell them which ones did well, and it will pick out why each one did well.
Right.
So how do you implement AI into your, not even just digital marketing, but generally into your business, or how do you plan on including it?
So let me first concede that we are not creating AI. We don't know. We are not in that world.
Of course.
We are in the world of using AI.
Using it.
Right? Very, very clear. But within that, what we understand is that AI is not here to substitute human effort. A lot of people say, oh, now you don't need copywriters because AI can do it for you. No, AI is only as good as what we used to call GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Your prompts are important. What prompt you give will give you the right results, right? What AI does is become a tool. AI is not you. AI is your tool. It's like, suppose somebody said 40 years back, oh, Excel will now take over accounting. No, Excel doesn't take over accounting. Excel did what was called help accounting, become a tool. And then a lot of Excel-based tools came in, right, based on that. Our belief is largely the same. AI is going to be a tool for human beings to perform better in their respective fields. Sure, some of those jobs will be taken away because those were people helping, again, some other people perform those roles. So those jobs will be taken away, no doubt about it. But AI is going to be a powerful tool for you to max things. Can AI interpret insights, human insights, to then make better strategy? Yes, it can. And that's what the point is. So we are also in early days. I don't think we know everything. But what we know is that AI is a good tool to have. Rather than to shun it away and say, oh, it doesn't affect me, it's better to embrace it. It's better to take it ahead. It's better to use it as a tool and then make your product even better, faster, better, more accurate, more understanding, more analytical, and so on and so forth. So that's how we think of AI right now. A lot of things are happening otherwise, which I can't right now talk about because they are in the experimental stage. But yeah, I mean, it's here to stay, no doubt about it.
Yeah, AI is as good as its user.
Yes.
The person who's putting in the prompts or the person who is. I think nowadays you see like AI courses coming up, and I think that's going to become a criteria for employment in the near future. At least, like, I was speaking to my dad a while ago, and he's like, yeah, now we look for people in R&D who specifically do AI, right? And I think that's a skill that could be leveraged.
It's the same as once upon a time, maybe 30 years ago, knowledge of computers was.
Let's touch upon your time in the Bollywood industry. What are some interesting incidents you've had along the way?
I knew it's going to come there somewhere. Everybody's interested in Bollywood, right? So let me explain what I do. Basically, we create deals and we create value creation between brands and celebrities. That's the business that I am in, right? So yes, very, very interesting episodes. Some of them best not on camera, but let me give you an example. When I started with Percept Talent Management as a CEO, I'd never done that before, right? Handling of stars in their careers, in their business, or their work with the brands. I'd never done that. So the first big job that I got was to handle this case between my company, which had happened much before I came in, and a fantastic top-end cricketer of those times, Sourav Ganguly. And Sourav was a talent of Percept Talent Management, but unfortunately things had not gone very well. The intent and the promise, somewhere, and the action were not kind of linked with each other. And Sourav had filed a case on Percept Talent Management, which I was the CEO of then. Therefore, I had to handle it from there. So I got this bulk contract and the past legal papers. And interestingly, I had to go to Calcutta, the Calcutta High Court, to have the next hearing along with Sourav. Somehow I've not been very starstruck in my life, so it's been good. I like stars, but I see them as raw material for what I need for brands, right? I've not been too starstruck. Not the same for my family, but definitely for me. So here's a case I have to defend. I have to go and put our argument against Sourav Ganguly, and I go to Calcutta and next day morning and out of court. First of all, we meeting. So met Sourav. Hi, hello. I'm the new CEO. Blah blah. His people, me, etc. And then we were to walk down to the court for the hearing. We started walking after the meeting, whatever. Very interesting. There are 300 people following Sourav. Just he's the hero, right? He's a hero.
300.
300 or more. 300 is understatement. And here I'm walking along with him. And they thought we're all a part of the same team. And I was just wondering, I'm in Calcutta, if they get to know that I have a case, I am the one who has a case against Sourav, like I'll be beaten black and blue, right? And somewhere, some little whisper happened, and some people started talking about this is the guy who has a case against Sourav, and there is this uncanny, odd silence that happens, and people are looking at me. And I said, "Boss, I'm gone. Aaj to pidunga." And then I look at Sourav, and Sourav, I think, understood, and he just put his arm around me, and he took me inside, along like a friend. And that's a funny thing, because here you are, you're actually competing, my good is his bad and his good is my bad. And at some point in time outside the court, you're like friends or you're like acquaintances and you're business associate and he walked me in like that, just giving the comfort of don't worry, nothing will happen. And that was a funny part. So that happens, that here is a business part of it and here is a friend part of it, and or simple courtesy part of it, and they go hand in hand. So
That's the landmark of a good person.
Yeah,
You can
you
put
could
the
say that.
personal issues aside to
Yeah,
not let you get beat
yeah,
up.
magnanimity at its core. Yes, that's what Saurabh was that point in time. I don't think we'll remember this part, but I do. Um, and then similarly, a story of late where, I was working with Mr. Bachchan, and but Mr. Bachchan is a very, very courteous man to his directors and to the people. So I was explaining him the story and telling him what to do, etc. And at a certain stage, I told him, "Sir, this is the action required." And Mr. Bachchan says, "I think this will not work. This should be done slightly different way." And me in my flow of emotions and my role, I said, "No, sir, this is the right way." So he looks up at me with my assertiveness, which he didn't expect from this guy. And he looks up at me and says, "अच्छा तो फिर एक काम कीजिए आप करके दिखाइए." And I suddenly realized, shit, I'm talking to a legend, telling him what to do, and I had no way to withdraw. So while I told him what to do, I had this in the same breath. I also said, "But sir, your call." So, so it was a very, very interesting time, that little 5 minute, where he said, "I'm telling you this is not the right way, but since you insist, why don't you tell me how's the right way to do it?" And me in my flow didn't understand that part, that he was being slightly sarcastic. I actually played it to him, but I said, "Sir, your call." And very interesting episode. I don't know how to explain that, but imagine telling the Amitabh Bachchan what to do on camera.
Yeah.
A first time and writer director, you know, and he says, "Lekhak Mohoday, aap hi bataiye kya karna hai." And then you don't know what to say. But yeah, interesting ones.
So that's very interesting. And I guess with these incidents, there must have been some sort of challenges that came along the way. I don't want you to name anyone because that might put you in some trouble. But have there been any broad challenges that you faced?
Yeah. So early again in the part of my handling celebrities, which happened much after 10 years of my initial work life. There was this hero who was growing from a B level to a A level in his times. He's no longer there right now on the silver screen as much, but he was doing very well, and he was my talent. I'm not going to name him right now. And somewhere along, he fell prey to the same problem that a lot of upcoming heroes do, that they take their success is granted, or they believe that the success is coming largely to them and nothing out of luck, or nothing out of a lot of other circumstances which are helping. So here he was, all surrounded by yes men, and thought that he could do things which others which were not right. For example, raising a price in between a contract, or for raising a price 4 times just as the contract ended for a renewal, you know, or saying, "No, I don't want this brand anymore, I want something else to happen," or saying, "I will not do this at the set," or not coming on time, things like those. And that partly led to his overall downfall. And today the person is no longer there. And I tried to tell him, if I may say, as an elder brother or a friend, an associate, I tried to tell him that what your friends are telling you about yourself and your success is half true. It's not really true. A lot of it is because of the ecosystem and because of the luck that you're running right now. It may not last, so don't assert too much of yourself right now. He heard some of it. He did not hear most of it. And that partially led to the downfall, or let's say not to the rise that he could have had. And that's something that you feel sad then, that you being a consultant in those times to that star could not handle it. So understand that when you're handling non-human brands, when you're handling the Hammams and the Rexonas and the Colgates of the world, then those brands don't have a say, right? You do for the brand what you're supposed to do. But when human being is a brand, that brand can think for himself. And he can act oddly versus what the brand story should be. And everything goes for a toss. A lot of human brands have not been able to take success well. Some of them also don't take failures well, but that is understandable. But when you're not able to take success well, then that's a problem. Exact opposite of that is Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh takes his success so well. He exactly knows where he is. He keeps saying that it's not about getting there, it's about being there and what it takes to be there continuously. I think that's something that one can learn from Shah Rukh, which I could talk about no other of my talent.
That's very interesting, and I think you see it a lot in rappers with Yes Men, right? They put out amazing music at the beginning, right? Their art is brilliant, everyone loves it, and they start putting out slightly lower quality music. Their circle is like, oh, that's amazing, man, because they're getting money from that guy, right? And they keep on doing that until the rapper basically loses his audience, and the Yes Men leave, and so I think carefully trimming your circle is very important. And is that something you practice?
So, interestingly, yes men are required sometimes. Yes men are required to help you grow your confidence. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've gone from one side where I used to hate yes men to a side where I believe that there are some yes men required in your life. But you being close to you closing yourself in a very small room full of yes men is a very, very bad idea. It's a killing idea, right? The idea is you stay with some yes men who will execute what you want the vision to be. No problem. But mostly you should be open to people who think very differently than you. And that's what gets you. So if I may say, my two partners who are very close to me, also friends, are anything but yes men. Same of me with them. They tell me where I'm going wrong. They tell me we are with you. Whatever you do, we're with you. But do you think this is right? We don't think so. But if you have the confidence, go ahead with it. But you should know that we don't believe that that's right. So having people who are your critics is important next to you because they correct you. But if it's only critics, then this is a problem. If it's only yes men, then it's a bigger problem. You need a mix of people. Yes men are good to have when you need people to execute visions. But there should be a time when they should be able to tell you, sir, this is not going good. But you know what? If you so want, we'll still do it. That's a good, mature relationship.
That's a very interesting perspective. Okay, so now diving back into marketing, there's so much about you in terms of so many different fields that this conversation has taken so many
I'm
turns.
glad there is. I'm thankful to God.
So, diving straight into hardcore marketing, what are your three tenets? What are your main tenets that you follow in terms of marketing?
Well, I'm not a marketing guru, but what I realize is marketing is nothing but truth well told. Good advertising can kill a bad product faster. So exaggerate, create a story, tell what is right in a nice way, in an exaggerated way, no problem with that. But let's say if I'm trying to make a pet hater into a pet lover, that will not work. I'm talking about a human being being marketed, let's say. So if somebody likes dogs, I can make him look like he loves dogs, right? But if he hates dogs, if I make him look like he loves dogs, it'll go against because he'll not be able to play it up. Same with brands. Okay? So one of the things that I know about marketing is truth well told, said long back by and followed by a company called McCann or Exxon, which McCann is a famous advertising agency. And I've never worked with them, but I believe in that story. So that's one part that I believe marketing works on. The second is human insights. Any strategy which is based not on human insights will not give you half as good a return as anything which is based on core human insight. A lot of brands, top-end brands, which do very well consistently, are based on human brands, or are based on human insights. So that's the second thing I would say about marketing that really, really works. Third, any marketing which doesn't help business is art. It's not marketing. So let me explain. We here, marketers, sometimes mistake ourselves to be Picassos. We're not here to make some great looking, great sounding advertising, but it doesn't help the brand. Anything that doesn't do short term good and does only long-term good is only half good. There is no long-term without good short-terms. So marketing has to build brands, but brands have to build business. If marketing is not building business finally, it's useless. So one has to understand this fine difference between a commercial artist that we are and an artist, pure play artist who does it for himself. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for consumers. We're doing it for creating value in consumers' lives. So that's the third one I would say that I can readily recall. I'm sure I can come up with many more, but maybe later.
I think that third one stands out to me a lot because you see big companies doing this nowadays. They post on Instagram for the sake of posting.
Okay.
I think so. A couple friends and I, we did a case study competition for Nike. Nike was the case study brand, and we compared their advertising strategy to Hoka and a bunch of other upcoming running shoe brands. In some of the Nike ads, you couldn't see a Nike logo, you couldn't see a Nike product, and you could see the athletes, of course, which are always there, versus Hoka, who showed their shoe every 10 seconds. And I'm like, I want to buy Hoka more because their shoe looks nicer. So I think a lot of companies try to become artistic and they forget like they're trying to lure in customers, not lure in, but get customers to buy their product. So where do you find that distinction?
But Shivan, this could be, I'm not defending Nike, but it could be because of several reasons. See, for Nike versus any other brand,
Yeah.
Nike doesn't have a challenge on salience. They don't need not tell people that I am Nike, I make shoes, this is what I am all about. They need to intensify their positioning and their differentiation from anybody else. So if backing of athletes and the athlete overall system makes them look like what Nike is all about, maybe that's what they're trying to do. Now, where they're overdoing or underdoing, I won't say right now. They're a great marketing brand, right? They're somebody we all want to refer to, just like Apple, right? But there is a value that they create beyond recognition and salience, right? When you buy a Nike product, you buy confidence. You buy what is called killer instinct in sport, right? Just do it. They don't talk about winning. They talk about doing, right? That's their differentiation. So sometimes, I don't know about a single post or whatever, but sometimes they just want to talk about that because what will they talk about their logo? Who doesn't remember? As I said, you wake somebody up in the night and tell them, make a Nike logo and they'll do a swoosh, right?
Yeah.
Anybody will.
Yeah.
So that's not what they have to invest into. So I don't know what exactly you're referring to, but chances are that finally, if it helps them do what they're supposed to do, if the brief was get people to believe in me a little more, then I think that's right. Okay. If the brief was more people should know about me, then or what kind of shoes am I making or a new range that I'm launching, then maybe not. So all depends on what is required. That's where it is. So I'm glad that you agree with my overall point. I'm not too sure about the exact example, but I will still say marketing done for the sake of looking good is not marketing. It's pure art. Then it should be practiced on other canvases, not on the business canvas. Yeah. So that's my recommendation to a lot of people who get taken away.
So in addition to the first quote we talked about, I picked up a second thing from your LinkedIn. It said, working to bring back agency respect in clients' minds. I think that's your bio. What does that mean? That was interesting.
So, Shivan, it's like this. Like Gen Z doesn't work only for money. There comes a certain time when you graduate to a level where you're working not only for money. One of the things that I realized was this, that when I started in an advertising agency long back, started my career, there were a few icons, There were people like Alek Padamsi, and there were people like Bal Munkar. There were people who clients looked up to. When they would walk into a room, the client would stand up, the client would greet them, the client would take their advice like a gospel, right? There was a lot of fandom out there that they created for themselves. And that was fantastic because that allowed them to earn their respect and their money for their people as well. Okay? Over a period of time, since 1995, that when I kind of joined the industry, I saw that tapering down. I saw that agencies had started becoming vendors. They were easily changeable. Clients were asking them less important questions to solve, and they had lesser of an impact on the overall marketing strategy. Okay, there were no heroes left in the industry. Okay, clients also started treating agencies like vendors and giving them that little respect, not too much. And I was a part of that growing up, and I did not like it. So when I left this so-called corporate life, I said, when I start an agency, I'll create an agency where clients will have respect for us. Clients will want to pay for us. They'll want that little extra 15 minutes from us. They'll ask us questions which are not in the core area only. They'll ask us questions which they cannot find answers to otherwise, which basically means that you're getting respect back. And that's how my bio on my LinkedIn also changed. And I never forget that. Every single morning when I get up, okay, let's not overdo it. Every single week, at least 3 to 4 times, I'm thinking about, have I been able to add value, or has my company been able to add value to a client's life? In that case, I can charge double the money as long as I'm able to provide 4 times the value, right? But am I adding value? Am I adding something in which he'll respect? So my biggest high moments, if you ask me, I know you haven't, but are not about cracking an idea. They're about when a particular idea, when executed, got a client something more than what he expected or what he could have expected anyway. When a client cancelled his trip to just be extra time with me. When a client said, I don't know how this works, but if you think it works, we'll put the resources behind it. When a client said, are you sure? If you're sure, we'll go ahead with it. Or when a client asked me questions beyond advertising and definitely beyond marketing. When a client asked, should we buy this plot of land? Will it work for us? That's when you know you're creating a dent. That's when you know you're creating value. And that's what one lives for, I'm a Marwadi, as I said. I don't spend too much. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do too many parties out there. Yeah, I like my suits, but that's about it. I don't believe you spend all your money and you should be working for money. Money will follow. If you create value for clients, they will seek you out. That's exactly what we want to do. Individually, I want to do, and at Alchemist, I want to do. I want Alchemist to add value every single day in our clients' lives. That is the integrity I'm talking about. So we'll start all over again?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll do from the last question.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've given us a bunch of brilliant pieces of advice throughout the episode, but I would put it this way: if you could go back 30 years and give yourself a single piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, I don't regret most things in my life, so let me reframe this question. If I was to go back and, let's say, talk to a youngster like you and say, what's my piece of advice for you? I would say one piece, so it'll be integrity. Integrity of thought, integrity of action. Let me explain. Even today, when we go to the college institutes, it's not that I'm buying their academic, what they've understood out of that, no. But I still look at their academics. I still look at what kind of marks have they got. Or if not the marks, if they're not so good, then have they done something else which was occupying their mind? Because what it means is, if your mind is fruitfully occupied in a direction that you wanted to take, that means that you've given the best. You've given your integrity to that job or action. That's extremely important. If you don't have an integrity, if you don't feel like getting up and doing that every day as a discipline, then there's a problem. I'm looking for discipline of integrity. That cannot be traded. That cannot be, I've just done enough to make me float. That's not okay. What is good is that you make yourself go up. The distance between 50% to 70% is nothing. I'm talking about marks, for example. 70 to 80 is somewhat more stretchy. 80 to 90 is even more. But when you stretch for the last 2%, 3%, which is so difficult to get, that's when you show your integrity. This is just an academic example. Same with work. One is, I'm here 10 to 6, I'll do the best that I can. The second is, this is probably what is expected from my role, can I do a little more than that? So I would say, if I was to give myself one piece of advice or tap on the back, I would say what has worked for me is integrity to the cause that I've been, whatever I've done. So even when I was learning celebrity management, I really gave it my best. When I was trying to be proficient in media planning, I gave it my best. When I was trying to direct, I gave it my best. Give your best. Doesn't matter if it's not good enough vis-a-vis somebody else or whatever. But have you stretched yourself? So that's the piece of advice, if at all I'm at all capable of giving an advice. That's what it is.
So how I would frame that is have a purpose and do whatever you can to fulfill that.
Very well said. In fact, you said it better than me. Having a purpose, even if it means for those 3 years, that 1 year, those 5 years, that little period in time, have a purpose and then give your best to it. There's no if and but in that. Then you give yourself. I know that Narayan Murthy was slammed for saying 90 hours a week.
Yes.
I actually don't find anything wrong in that. The problem is, the wrong thing is when people find it work. But when they find that as life at that point in time, then that's good enough, no? You give yourself everything. Do you give a time to loving when you're loving? You don't. You just love.
Of course not.
You love unconditionally, right? That's real love. Otherwise, it's infatuation. I hate it. I hate it when people say, I'm passionate towards, let's say, drama. And the only thing they have to prove in that area is that little play that they did in school, or that I go to sometimes watch drama.
I watched Shakespeare once.
How do you say you're passionate towards drama? Or how do you say you're passionate towards diving if you're not taking those 10 dives in places which you are most uncomfortable at? So that's the point. Yes, you're right. Having a purpose, even if it's short term, and following it.
Yeah, and I think purpose works a lot like an onion. You peel it, you have a new purpose. Until you get your core purpose in life,
which could take forever.
Exactly.
That's fine. I don't have an exact purpose in my life yet now. But yes, I have a base purpose that I want to gain respect in clients' mind for Alchemist and for me. That helps me understand everything, and everything else follows. Everything else follows.
That's wonderful. Amazing. So where can people keep up with your work?
Sorry?
Where can people keep up with your work? LinkedIn, Twitter?
Well, I think on the work part of it, it's LinkedIn. Otherwise, I'm still an old gen. I am very much on Facebook as well.
Okay.
Insta is not my primary handle, but yes, that happens as well. But LinkedIn is a good way to keep in touch with me. To me, my work is my life. A lot of it, I'm not exactly proud of it or something, but I'm not ashamed of it either. So a lot of my life is my work, and I'm good with that so far. Maybe some other day I'll wake up and say, no, I'm not. Right now I am. So LinkedIn is a fantastic way to follow me.
So I'll link that. Hopefully the viewers will reach out. It's been amazing. Thanks for coming on the show.
It'll be lovely. It has been lovely.